Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net-carb hero bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first Hero Bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.
This is
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
All right, folks, welcome to another edition of Make It Plain. Happy to have with us today a dear comrade for many, many years. First met him, I guess it was back in the 90s when he was the head of the Race Relations Institute at Fisk University where my mother worked. Have been following his work since then. He is now the director of the Urban Research Institute at Morgan State University, another one of our great HBCUs, and the author of Should America Pay? Slavery and the Raging Debate on Reparations. Now, folks, this is Reparations Action Week, a week of action for reparations. We are maybe a little over a dozen votes, maybe even less, for H.R. 40 being brought to the floor for passage. Of course, this is the bill that would establish a commission to discuss and study reparations proposals, no longer to study whether there should be reparations. That was the original H.R. 40. This new H.R. 40 would be to study what forms reparations might take. And so with us from Morgan State University, he and I were part of a sit-down this weekend in Atlanta and in Daba on reparations, Dr. Ray Winbush. Hey, man, how are you, brother? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing fine, man. Good to see you in Atlanta this past weekend, too.
Yeah, it was. It was great to be seen and great to see you as well. Ray, let's start in general. What's your assessment? I know we're closer to passage of HR 40 than we've ever been. How does that look in terms of the overall state of the reparations movement today?
Well, I used to be able, Mark, to keep up with almost every activity that was going on around reparations in the whole country, actually the whole world. And that was probably 5 years ago. Now I can't, and that's a good thing. It's happening every place on the continent, in Namibia, all through the United States. Every time I pick up a paper, or read something, there's a new commission being started. There's one right here in Baltimore, in Maryland, in Greenbelt, Maryland. They just appointed a commission. So that's a good sign that finally at the grassroots level, people are talking about reparations. HR 40, as you know, has always been talked about at the federal level. And people knew about it at the grassroots level, but now it's being talked about locally. So the state of reparations is good. The resistance to HR 40 and reparations is bad, and it's an ever-present thing right now going on again all through the world.
Yeah. And speaking of the local initiatives, we know what's happening in Evanston, California has a commission. That's actually a rather ingenious approach, isn't it? Because just like everything else is state to state, voting laws, election laws, city to city policing oversight. I mean, there's no federal address or agency to any of those things. So it makes perfect sense that we would approach reparations the same way, doesn't it?
It really does. And I've said for years that in the final analysis, what is happening at the grassroots level is going to be where reparations really start taking hold. And it has done that. I love what's going on in California because it's the first state to set up a commission on reparations. And I know the sister that's setting it up, Shirley Weber, and we're old colleagues from National Council of Black Studies, and Shirley is like a pit bull on this issue.
Yeah.
And so we're in good shape right now. We're positioned. Um, I'd say again that we are probably in the red zone, but we still got to get the ball over the goal line.
No question about it. And it is good that there's more and more
Yeah.
conversation in many places around the country. So you're involved directly yourself in some of the local analysis, some of the local work, aren't you?
Yeah, we're doing a real deep dive. We were funded by Enterprise Community Partners, the second largest public housing organization, corporation in America. And we've been doing a deep dive into Washington, D.C. They wanted us to do D.C. because they felt that at the city level, not the federal level, but at the city level, if we could get reparations in the district, it would be like a spark to ignite a major fire of reparations all over the country. So we should be publishing that study about January or February of this year, but we have really gone deep into DC. I learned a lot in this study, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So is the thinking that based on your study, it might lead to reparations legislation at the city council level in DC?
Absolutely. Kenyon McDuffie, one of the councilmen there, he has introduced a resolution to talk about, a commission again. Um, I was frankly unaware that DC, because I always thought of DC as being a safe place for black people
Mm-hmm.
to be even during enslavement, and it wasn't. We know about
Mm-hmm.
the story of Solomon Northup, so we're going to be presenting all of these data to Kenyon, who's also seeking the office of Attorney General for the city as well. And he's positioned, and we've met with Tony Williams, the ex-mayor, and so for a bunch of people. And we're poised on this. And again, it's trying to get it over the goal line.
Yeah, no, it's very important. And what about your book, folks? I've been messing with Ray because I feel like we need an updated edition. Not that the old edition is obsolete, but folks out here writing books, y'all, and claiming to be experts, hanging stuff out on their own
Right.
shingle. But we need brothers like Ray who are within our HBCUs. I mean, what's the point of fighting for reparations if those in our own institutions aren't the major voices on this issue?
Yeah, it's funny. Cornel West spoke at Morgan about 2 weeks ago, and he gave me a shout out. And, he loves Should America Pay? And then someone told me, one of my colleagues at Morgan, I told him what you had said about I need to revise the book. And
Right.
he said, well, you don't revise the Bible. I said, well, you got new translations of the Bible. He said, yeah, but you don't revise the Bible. And, West always calls Should America Pay? The Bible of the reparations struggle. I did a
Okay.
slight prequel to that book, with Belinda's petition a few years ago. And a lot of people said to me, Should America Pay? It's too hard to read, So I put out a book, 69 pages, smallest book I ever wrote, and so that people could digest it immediately, And so
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to take a look at it. It was hard putting Should America Pay together, though. And see, as you
Yeah.
said, we've got these books out, and I don't want to mention anybody's name, but who are just talking about cut the check. And as you know, Mark, reparations is more than just cutting a check. But I've told people the reason why this one author is so popular on C-SPAN, every place else, is because the money that he's proposing, 17, 18 trillion dollars, is like white folks can say, oh, we can get that back from black folk. Reparations got to
Yeah.
take a lot of
Yeah.
has to take a lot of different forms. It will take a lot of different forms. Money being one of them, but not all of it.
Yeah. Right. More MIP after this message. And also opportunity. Because one of the things I've been saying, Ray, there's this myth that white people were just born middle class and rich. They just came here that
Yeah.
way. but there were things put in place to build the white middle
Absolutely.
class into what it is today, and nobody wants to talk about that. And these were government programs. They got reparations. They got repair for what they didn't even need repair for. If anything, that was
That's
welfare.
right.
And I mean, that's fine. Nations have to establish that, but we weren't included in that. And folks, again, you can see it most clearly in home ownership. In America, wealth is based on home ownership.
Right.
Let's face it. Ain't a whole lot else you can have here in this country and sustain yourself with. And we as African Americans were denied land and that type of
right.
opportunity. Systemically, they had homesteading on the land that we sowed
That's
for
right.
them. We didn't get one dime of that as African people. And I think we need to acknowledge that was where the logic was going. That's what General Sherman's order was. And even Lincoln, before John Wilkes Booth assassinated, said, we're going to have to give these folks the right to vote. They fought in this war.
That's right.
They got to vote. And then 3 or 4 days later, John Wilkes Booth killed Lincoln, said that was the last speech he would ever give. But there is a rich history here. Tell us a bit about Belinda's petition. I'd like for my audience to get a little bit of that knowledge. Belinda was in Massachusetts,
Right, Medford,
correct?
Massachusetts, right outside of what is now Tufts University, right outside of Boston. And on your point, and I want to talk about Belinda, but Mark, we always associate intergenerational poverty with enslavement. So we can, and that's part of the reparations struggle. What we never do, to your point, we never associate intergenerational wealth among white people with enslavement. We got them started, and it's reflected in Belinda. She was captured in Ghana. This is a Reader's Digest version of her life. She was captured in Ghana in 1715. Taken to Antigua, where the royal family with 2 L's had purchased her, took her to Massachusetts, worked her for 50 years, which she actually says in the petition. When at the outbreak of the Revolutionary War, her so-called master, Isaac Royal, fled to Canada because he was on the side of the British. And when Belinda was alone with 53 others, she said, we're going to sue this dude. And she did in Massachusetts. They actually granted her the equivalent of about $1,500 a year, which was a lot of money then. What I found intriguing is that, I've seen the original petition up in Massachusetts, and it's a big X at the bottom where she signed. I said, well, if she was illiterate, who wrote this? And it was a sister that lived about 5 miles from her by the name of Phyllis Wheatley, who wrote the petition for her. So we see these, historical figures joining up and are trying to, strive for justice in Massachusetts in 1782.
Yeah, no, that is an amazing story and has been a part of our struggle. You're right, Ray. There is not enough of an acknowledgement of white success and white wealth on the backs of our people. There's now consideration, which is fine. There ought to be consideration, the United States government giving compensation to those immigrant families that were separated at the border under the Trump administration. And that's fine. No one is opposed to that, least of all me. But it's so radical, so militant, so just unfathomable to discuss our separation during the period of enslavement, the original separation that built this country. And I wonder now, folks, this is a Reparations Week of Action. One of the reasons it is because we want to bring this bill to the floor before the end of the year. If not, we know the Democrats are going to be too afraid to do it in 2022, although it might help them. I mean, what did we learn in Virginia, Ray? They've got to engage. The white supremacists on the Republican side are taking the gloves off. They're doing CRT and everything, But it's as if the Democrats want to act like, the race problem is not real. They don't want to talk about it. They're afraid to talk about it. They're afraid by saying things that will empower the black base in the Democratic Party, it's going to empower more of the white base in the Republican Party. And I think that's a backwards way of thinking. H.R. 40 might actually get more African Americans.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the the Democrats. There's like that Beeline movie. What happened to you? My father, when I was a kid, he wouldn't even think about voting Republican. He was a lunch bucket steel worker. Now it seems that the working class, that the Republicans have grabbed that entire working class, and the Democrats are seen as elitist, pointy head East Coast liberals. And I think the Democrats have to really take. They talked about the autopsy the Republicans did after they lost the 2012 election. I think the Democrats got to do that too, and they've got to get back to their roots, which is not in this kind of middle of the road, right of center, kind of foot shuffling stuff, to really going back to their roots about what's really going on in Black America and dealing with it. It's like, I don't know when we became like this elitist party that you had to have a PhD or something to be a Democrat, and it was some people that were far to the left, so far out. And we know there's been the presence of Bernie Sanders and others like that, but we're very alienated from the very base that the Republicans have now in their control. And I don't know where it's going, to be honest with you. I still think we need a black political party, but that's another discussion.
I wish. More MIP after this message.
Hey peeps, it's your girl, Danielle Moody, host of Woke AF Daily. Every weekday, I'm sounding the alarm and keeping you woke to all the pure evil that is going on in our country. Check me out now at patreon.com/wokeaf. Get 5 new shows every week for just $5 a month. Get woke and stay woke as fuck.
And to be honest with you, there's an argument to be made. The Democratic Party is already a black political party. It would not exist without our votes. But we don't act like it, and they don't act like it. We need to act like it and demand that for what it is, and then make them do what we want, because then that would really make a great deal of difference. Folks, Ray Winbush is at Morgan State University. The work he's doing there, and again, we were part of a conversation this weekend. I just want to share something with you, Ray. I'm on Instagram, and
okay.
When you sometimes Instagram just pulls you in, and you can just be there surfing all day, looking at pictures and looking at stuff. And if you look at one thing, the algorithm keeps sending you the same thing to look at over and over again. So a few weeks ago, I'm not gonna lie, somebody at one of these kennels had posted some pictures of some cute little newborn puppies, right? And people like puppies and cats on social media. So I just looked at the puppies one time. They're adorable. Now I can't get puppies out of my timeline. But then, I'm looking, these are like real kennels that breed puppies. So I said, there was some interesting stuff I didn't know. I learned a lot about breeding puppies. I just got kind of interested up late one night. And then how the mother weans the puppies. And then as you see all these little adorable puppies with the mother, then after about 8 weeks, the puppies start getting sold off. So I'm thinking, well, I wonder how the mother feels about that. Or a dog is just made to be that way. Is that what it is? And is that what, if people believe that animals are just good with that, was that the same argument? So I took it a whole nother place, which makes me not a very fun person on Instagram. Is that the mentality that was used with us? We were like puppies or horses, bred, and then be taken away from, once our mothers, as soon as they got finished breastfeeding us, they even had puppies breastfeeding other puppies, other dogs' puppies, like our mothers were breastfeeding the white people's in the house's family. So it's like I just had to look at that, and I know this is, it's about to be the holidays, and folks probably gonna get a puppy for Christmas. I took it there. I said, this is how they used to treat us, and maybe that's what puppies are made. Because obviously some of them mothers and puppies, when you have 20 puppies, some of them look like they're ready for them to go because they kind of worn out. But but we were human beings, and they took our children from us. It was like they literally thought we were animals like dogs and cats and horses, Ray.
That's right. Still do. Still do. Yeah, and Mark, first of all, I'm gonna steal that analogy in my
Please.
next speech. But Asa Hilliard says something very similar to what you said about how do you train a dog to be a sheep dog, and you raise them around sheep, and pretty soon they start acting like a sheep, and so that's why they're safe to herd the other sheep. So I think that it is. I mean, I think, and see, I'll put it this way: I think that they still think of us that way. I've been listening to some of the Ahmaud Arbery trial. I don't know how certain human beings can do that to other individuals, and I know it's legal maneuvering, and then try to make him the criminal in that situation. They were protecting themselves. They killed him in self-defense. And I think they still think of us that way, that we're good for breeding, we're good for work, even though they call us lazy, all of that. It's just it's a mentality that Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about that they have not been able to shake since they brought us to this country.
And it's existential that they are in self-defense of us. Our very existence is a threat to theirs. Another dear comrade of ours, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and you also published a book of remembrances of her. She helped to codify that. Ahmaud Arbery running, jogging away from them was still a threat simply because he was a black man, and the fear of our genetics and our power and our melanin is that way. So this is, folks, this is a very important moment. We're asking people to tweet and Instagram and Facebook with the hashtag HR40 to the floor. The Democrats in leadership, we're scared because it's going to hurt people in the midterm. Well, if you don't do something like you haven't been doing, if you're not going to pass Build Back Better, which doesn't look like you are, not do anything else, you better pass something. You're going to be hurting them. You're not defending voting rights. You're not stopping voter suppression by getting rid of the filibuster. You're not, speaking of D.C., Ray, not passing D.C. statehood. All of these, and again, why isn't D.C. the 51st state? Because of its history of black people and black empowerment. But folks, we want H.R. 40 passed, and Ray, H.R. 40 is the only piece of all these pieces of legislation. George Floyd, D.C. statehood, John Lewis, for the people, that if, as all of those passed the House, and then Manchin was able to block it in the Senate, H.R. 40 is the only one that if it would pass the House, Joe Biden could do it by executive order and just forego the Senate. That's why and we're going to put him on the back. He said, Ray, he said to you that you had his back and now he's going to get yours.
Well, to me, he hasn't even gotten around to having my side, letting on my back. He's got my stomach, I guess. But we've been. It's like a deja vu experience, Mark. We see us giving these people the vote, and then when they get in office, thank you, bye, and then everything that is compromised. I said over the next few days, I'm gonna read this Build Back Better bill, which is 2,000 pages long, and I'm gonna see how much they cut out of HBCUs.
That's right.
Which because that's near and dear to my heart, and I hope that we aren't the first to be slashed in that direction. So we always give them our vote, but then they just, I mean, we're like a, I mean, if I can use this language, it would be good for you, but we're like a, I want to say like a $5 woman of the night. You know, that we lay there, do what we're paid to do, and then they just toss us aside and throw $5 on the bed.
I don't even think it's $5.
You know, it might not be, because I mean, I don't know. So, you know, it's easy to be cynical about the Democrats. It's very easy.
Right.
It's not easy. It's very easy to be cynical about the Republicans, but increasingly, the Democrats are they got to do something different.
Yeah.
That's all. They just got to do something different.
And this is an opportunity. Just one other thing I'll say, folks. There's a combination between co-sponsors and committed yes votes on H.R. 40 that totals 208. If that's accurate, I'm pretty sure that's accurate as to date. That means we just need 10 more votes. And I've even had to tell some black members of Congress. 208 members of Congress on H.R. 40. Ain't but 50 members of the Black Caucus. That means 2/3 of them are white folks. And you know how black folks are. We need to be validated by white folks. I tell them, look here, I got 200 white folks who ready to vote yes on this. So it must be right. It must be right.
That's right. so that's right.
So but go ahead.
No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, what are we afraid of? I mean, what are the black folk? Every black person should have automatically signed off on this and use what you just said. Most white people have. The vast majority of the sponsors of the bill are white folks. And I don't know. And see, the fear I got, if we don't pass this by the end of the year, next year is an election year and ain't nothing going through Congress. And then when we start emerging, we may have different members of Congress because of this gerrymandering thing. Yeah. And then somebody will say, well, we got to be careful because we don't want to lose the 2024 general election. So it's always, like Toni Morrison said, it's always something that they're going to put in our paths. So we got to get this done now. We got to get it done now.
Folks, HR 40 to the floor. Use that hashtag all this week and beyond, but especially this week. Ray Winbush, director of the Urban Research Institute at Morgan State University. Look, HBCUs, that's part of what Ray and I were talking about in terms of wealth, HBCUs, home ownership. Those are the vestiges of slavery that also
That's
HR.
right.
So we're not just talking about enslavement. These are things that continue to happen to us. Ahmaud Arbery, his death is a vestige of slavery. These are ongoing things that need to be remedied. And the toll keeps going higher the more we go on. So something has to be done. Should America pay? Slavery,
Yes.
the raging debate over. Yes. Get the book, Belinda's Petition, as well. You're going to be hearing more from Ray Winbush as this debate continues to rage on. We made a lot of progress. This is the most progress we've made, and there's only going to be more progress to be made as a result. Professor Winbush, Dr. Winbush, thank you for joining us, my brother. And yeah, HBCUs have to be included in the reparations conversation. In Maryland, just have to mention this, Maryland had to sue the state. I mean, HBCUs in Maryland had to sue the state of Maryland because HBCUs don't get with the funding that white schools get. All right. That's a fact. All of our not just students protesting at Howard, but all of our HBCUs are suffering under lack of resources and poor housing conditions. And they're still educated. Guess what, folks? Breaking news. The majority of black folk who are educated in higher education are still being educated at HBCUs, nowhere else. That's right. I don't care how many football players you see at University of Alabama.
That's right.
Right.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you. Ray Winbush, folks. HR 40 to the floor. Thank you, Ray.
Okay.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.